Hi, everybody. Oh, good. I'm seeing you come in. This is so great. Welcome. Happy to see you. Go ahead and start chatting. I love it when people are chatting. And if you're chatting, make sure that you are on sending it to all attendees, so it doesn't just come to me, because I want everybody to see. So go ahead and start chatting. I love seeing that. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Oh, this is going to be a wonderful. Hello from Michigan. Hi, everybody. Yeah, let's see you all coming on. So it's going to be just me today, and I'm excited to do this. A little nervous about doing all of the technical stuff myself and doing everything. Hi from Las Vegas. Yes, Philadelphia, Miami, Charleston, South Carolina, Delaware, Dallas, Chicago. Oh, you guys, I love that so much. Somebody from Phoenix, Virginia, yay. Hello, that's so great. So happy to see you all here. And so I want to start today by calling on somebody. Naomi, I want you to go ahead and put your come on with me and put on your video and put on your, there she goes, come on in. And I want to be able to see you. There you are. Have on your, can you put your video on and your audio? Hi. Oh, wow, look at you. Can you put your audio on, honey? I'm not hearing you.
Hold
there
on.
You go. Now I got you.
Now
I got you. Now I got you. Yes.
Hi.
So good morning. And
Good morning.
I wanted to say a special hello to you today, because this week you put down your deposit to do your soul adventure.
I did. I am so beyond excited. So beyond.
And sweetie, it's so cool because everybody, Naomi was on the master a few weeks ago, a number of weeks ago, actually. Naomi was on the Masterclass. She raised her hand, and we did the process with her, and even her daughter joined in. It was when we were doing the heart coherence technique, and it was just so sweet. And at the end of that, what you said, Naomi, I don't know if you remember that you said, I really want to come and do a soul adventure. And I said to you, well, go ahead and put that order out into the universe and tell the universe that you want to do that. And so the next thing that happened that you don't know about is that a few weeks after that, somebody who was watching a recording of the Masterclass, and I see that she's on the call with us today. She contacted me and she said, do you know the name who this person is? And I had to go back and I couldn't figure it out. And I'm not very good on the technical part of all of this stuff. And I finally had to get my technical person, Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. Rebecca's on today. I had to get my technical person to go on, and then I had to go back and I had to watch the video, because we didn't figure out until this week that it was you, that, your name and your contact information. And I didn't realize when I was doing all this that you were in the process of speaking with Rick, with your angel guide. I didn't know that was going on. And so the day that you put down your deposit, there was some problems with the credit card, with the address, and had to run it a couple of times.
Right.
And I was getting these emails, because I get those emails about there's a thing going on. So I had my technical person, Rebecca, checking into that at the same time. So she comes back to me that morning and she says, okay, I found out who was the person on that, and it was Naomi. And I said, okay. And she goes, and this is really weird. She just placed a deposit for a soul adventure today. I mean, on the same day. And I'm like, oh my God. Because the reason I was trying to find out and figure out who you were is because someone who saw the masterclass wrote me and said, I want to help her. And Naomi, I'm so emotional. Your retreat's paid for. Your retreat's paid for, sweetie. So, gosh, I'm surprised I'm so emotional about this. I think it's seeing you. Yeah. So, sweetie, your retreat's all paid for. And, you know, I remember I said to you, tell the universe you want to do this. And it's amazing what can happen when we just put it out there. So, so I'm so happy for you, sweetheart. And so I'm going to put you in touch with the person who's doing this for you. I know that you will love saying hello to her. She's someone who's done a soul adventure, so she knows how amazing this is. So it's making so sweetheart. This is so cool and so wonderful and so amazing. And it's such an example of what happens, you know, when you stay in the energy of excited expectation. You know, you just decided I don't know how, but I'm going to make this happen. And so
I'm so grateful. I have no words.
I know. It's so sweet. It's so beautiful. So, honey, I wanted to see your reaction.
Wow.
And I'm just so happy for you. And I'll be in touch with you and putting you in touch with her. And I think you can come sooner than what you because I know you were doing a payment plan, and Rick and I talked about this yesterday, and I said maybe we can get her out here sooner too. So sweetie, I love you.
I love you.
And we'll see you out. We'll see you out in Sedona soon. Okay, honey?
Sounds good. I cannot. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Honey, and you know, you have to understand, this is the other piece. You did this, okay? I want you to take a deep breath on this. You did this, all right? Because what I said to you was, tell the universe you want to do this. Tell the universe, make it happen. You had to stay in the energy of high expectation, you know, and love. You stayed out of the energy of, oh, you know, I want to do this, and how can I, you know, you didn't do that. You stayed in the energy and in the high energy of excited expectation. And look what happened. The energy of generosity and love came back to you. So I want you to understand that you did this, okay? And of course, this person, this grad of ours is also doing it with her love and her compassion and her generosity. So it's this beautiful, beautiful co-creation. And that's the piece that I really, really, really want you to get out of this, okay? You did this, and this is just the beginning of bigger and better, and that's giving me chills to say it. So, all right, sweetie, we will be in touch with you, okay? Sending you so much love from Sedona. Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. All right, you guys. Wow, that was big. I had no expectation that I was going to go into. So much emotion from that, but how sweet, how absolutely sweet is that? So we're going to have a wonderful masterclass today. I want to do one other thing of asking you all a favor. We are on Tuesday going to launch our podcast of Meeting the Masters. And if you have been watching those and listening to those, we've been presenting them every week for the last few months. We have amazing people on the interview programs, Dr. John Gray, Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, Janet Atwood, who wrote The Passion Test, Just some amazing, amazing people. And we are now turning it into a podcast, and we're launching it this coming Tuesday. And what we want you to do is on Tuesday, I want you to go to wherever you go to listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, whatever. And I'll be sending out an email for this. But what we want to do is launch it with a whole bunch of people going and listening, because if on that one day we have a whole lot of people listening, it will put us up higher in the ratings, and it does all this great stuff. So if you'll take a few minutes on Tuesday, and we'll send you an email about it, if you will do that for us and go on and listen and leave a review, that would be really, really wonderful. I would so appreciate it. My life is devoted to bringing people to Sedona Soul Adventures, but bigger than that, bringing people to the knowing that real and lasting change is possible. And so that's what the podcasts are about. That's what these masterclasses are about. So please help us spread the word on Tuesday. I would love it so much. So if any of you are new, I'm Deborah Stengel, founder of Sedona Soul Adventures. And usually we have one of our absolutely amazing practitioners during the master classes. And today it's me. And I'm doing a process with you that I learned many, many, many years ago. I did this process myself when I was in therapy many, many years ago. Like, gosh, it's got to be like 35 years ago. I mean, a really long time ago. This was one of the most important processes that I've ever done. And we're going to go through the process today. I'm going to take you through it. I want to make sure that you have paper and pen. If you don't, go grab paper and pen right now, because we're going to be doing a bunch of writing in this. There's some things that you need to sit and listen to. And then at each step along the way, I'm going to call on people and go over things with them with different ahas or ideas that they had. So this process, like I said, is something that was so huge for me when I first did it. And I think it's going to be really huge for you if you do the process with me. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm even doing slides today. I'm so technically savvy. And I want to thank my husband, Richard, for helping me with this, because I'm just so not very good at doing this. But I think that you're going to enjoy this. And I think it's going to help you having the slides as well. So as I said, when I did this, and this is all about discovering and releasing patterns that you took on from childhood that are affecting you to this day. And when I did this so many years ago with my therapist, one of the things that therapists and psychologists know is that children are deeply affected by their parents or their caregivers during their formative years. Now, let me be clear. What I'm talking about today is, who are the people who really had an impact on you in your life? Was it your parents? Was it your grandparents? Was it maybe a teacher that had a huge impact on you? But what we're talking about is people that were around you that really, really, really impacted how you think about things, how you believe about things, because these people have a very, very, very big impact. Because what happens is children take on the thoughts or the ideas or the beliefs of their parents. And again, what I'm going to keep on doing is using the word parents, just because for most people it is your parents. But if it was your grandparents, or if it was a different caregiver, maybe an aunt, maybe, again, a teacher that affected you, or someone, someone else in your family. So that is what happens here, is that children do take on these thoughts and ideas and beliefs, and we take them on without even knowing about it. And it's so funny, because when I did this process with my therapist, she wanted me to do this. And I said, oh yeah, I'll do it. But I mean, I'm so different from my parents. So this isn't going to be, oh my gosh, I was so wrong. So I talk a lot about this and do this process in my book, The Journey to Happy. So this is something that you might want to refer back to. And I just want to point out again that the subtitle of my book, The Journey to Happy, how embracing the concept that nothing is wrong can transform your life. And so you can get this book for 99. You can get the Kindle version for 99 cents on Amazon. So this is a really good backup to what we are talking about today. So what's going to happen is today we're going to look at all of these different areas of your life. Your ideas about life, spirituality, work, money, relationships, body, how your parents thought about it, and how you think about it. We'll spend time on each one. So for example, like, what were your parents' general outlook on life? Did they think life was hard? Did they think life was easy? How were they with money? How were they with relationships with their body? And then we'll look at how is that showing up in your life? And then we'll compare. I'll have you do writing about how your parents did things, and then writing about how you do things. And then we'll look at, are there any ahas that you get out of that? Because I'll tell you, when I did this process, it was absolutely amazing. And I will actually tell you about the different things that happened for me when I first did this process. So why is this important? Well, psychiatrists and psychologists, therapists, there have been thousands of studies that will tell you that families, especially parents, have a huge influence on how you think and feel about things. Studies, there's zillions of studies that show this. Some of the most interesting ones that I think are like, half of adult Americans are in the same political party as their parents. Now, when I was doing a little more looking into this when I was getting ready for this today, and I found another amazing study that said that not only do over half of Americans have the same, political thing as their parents, but in this one study, 22% of the adult children adopted the political affiliations they thought their parents had, even though they were wrong. So, I mean, that just totally proves my point. It just blows my mind. Even though they were wrong about what their parents' political affiliation was, they chose the party that they thought was the party of their parents, which I think just demonstrates this even more completely. So again, how unconscious is that? And that's my point with this, because it's unconscious. The stuff that we take on is unconscious. So what we're getting at are, what are the patterns that you have unconsciously taken from your parents, because you probably don't even realize it if you haven't looked at it before. So when we look at this, we'll be looking at, are they helping you or hurting you? Are they, because some of these are helping, but there's others that can be hurting you. Are they causing you trouble? And then what can you do about it? How is it showing up in your life? So these are the things that when we're making these choices, these decisions in our life, are they really a decision, a conscious decision, or are they something that's just coming through unconsciously because of how you were wired when you were growing up? So this is not about blame. Remember, from the subtitle of my book, nothing is wrong with your parents. Nothing is wrong with you. We're not blaming anyone here. What we're doing is making sure that we understand that things that you're doing are being done from a conscious level and not from an unconscious level. So isn't it interesting that the word familiar the root of that is family, because what's in our family is what feels familiar. It's what we're used to. It's what we feel comfortable with. And one of the things, amazing things I've discovered over the years of working with people, first as a family law attorney for over 20 years, and now with Sedona Soul Adventures for almost 20 years, is that people will move toward the familiar, even if it's something they don't like, just because it's familiar. One of the things that amazed me when I was in my law practice was to see women who were marrying men who were abusive, and then finding out that their father was abusive to their mother. And then the thing that would absolutely blow my mind is that they would divorce that one and marry another one who was doing the same thing, all because they never did anything to break the pattern. And of course, it's not just women. I mean, men who grow up with an alcoholic mother marry alcoholic women, and, or with a parent, either mother or father, if they grow up with a parent that was constantly criticizing them, and then they marry someone who's constantly criticizing them, because to be constantly criticized, even though it doesn't feel good, it feels familiar. So let's do this process and let's see what we find. It doesn't have to be, deep and dark and terrible. It can just be simple awarenesses that make the difference. And that's our goal. What can you shift by bringing it into your conscious awareness? So let's go ahead and get started. Grab your piece of paper and your pen, and let's talk about life. This is a really big one. So this shapes your general outlook about life. How did your parents think about life? Did they think life was hard? Did they think life was a bowl of cherries? Which parent thought which way, and which one had the most influence? Were they generally happy? Were they generally unhappy? And then think about how this affected you and your outlook on life. Do you think life is hard? Do you think it's a piece of cake? Are you generally happy? Are you generally unhappy? I'm going to sit here for a few minutes while you do this. Go ahead. So I hope that you've written, as we finish up here, I'm going to talk about me for a little bit. So finish up in just a few minutes. So my mother and father both thought life was hard. And I will tell you, I totally grew up with that. And they really instilled that into my sister and I, into all of my four brothers except one. And also, she was a real worrier. And so that's something that I find I have just had to really spend a lot of time working on. And the biggest thing that did for me was it made me feel like I couldn't trust, like I didn't have this basic idea of knowing that all is well. And so that's been a big piece of the work that I've done all my life, really. Even continuing now, I still have to bring myself back from that. But knowing that and realizing, oh my gosh, I'm wired for that. And I'm acting like my mother in this situation, and I can stop that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to call on some people, and so if you raised your hand before, raise it again. Okay. Raise it again. And who would? Okay. Kim, I'm going to bring you on and make sure that you've got there you are. Yay. Go ahead and unmute yourself. And I think we've got the video. Are we bringing you in? Kim?
Hold on.
Here you are. Yes, go ahead. Hi, hello. So what was the aha that you got out of this, Kim?
Well, I've actually thought about this and been encouraged to think about this before, but I did have a big aha about this now. And my parents were both very independent and encouraged everyone around them to be themselves and to be honest. And those are the great things that I got from them. In that honesty, my father, when I was 7, decided that he wanted to be free and told my mom so and left. And that kind of crushed her. And she became very depressed, but didn't ever talk about it, never complained. And I've pushed away men who are giving emotionally, and I never thought they were strong like my dad, who was very selfish emotionally, and surrounded myself with narcissistic men all my life, and people, not even just my love relationships, but the people in my life that I gravitate to and who gravitate towards me are very, like, really emotionally abusive sometimes. And my mom was very quiet after the divorce, was a loner, came home, was never talked about herself. And I am an exact copy of that. And that was my big aha. I just never realized that. And how could I not realize it? But I didn't. And here it is. Aha.
So what is something that you can do to change that around right now?
Well, I feel like what I can do and what I have to do is I have to learn how to ask for emotional help and emotional support from the people around me. And I've tried to do that, but it's hard for me. It's really hard, but I know I have to keep trying that. And
so make a decision that over the next 30 days, you're going to do more of that. Spend 30 days journaling about it, praying about it, meditating about it, and being focused on this one thing of, I want to do something to change this pattern. And so I'm going to be really focused on, maybe concentrating on one person or somebody else in your family or something like that, where you can focus on that and say, you know what, I am changing this pattern.
Yeah.
That's so great. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody. And that goes for all of you as well. Everything we're talking about, of course, always goes back to you. So on that, what is then, think about it. What is something that you can stop doing or start doing right now to shift what you came up with for this piece? Concentrate on that. Think about it. Take a deep breath, because very often just having the awareness of it is huge. So let's move on to the next one, spirituality. This is also a big one, especially for those of you who are on this call, because spirituality is a big part of your life, spirituality and transformation and personal development and growth. So how did your parents feel about that? Did they believe in God? Do you believe in God? Or do you believe in universal power? Or Do you believe in the power of nature? Did they go to church? Did you go to church? Was spirituality a part of your life growing up? Did you think of God as a punishing old white man up in the clouds with the long beard? Or do you think of the universe as a benevolent? Now, do you believe in the mystical? How would your parents feel about, this new age stuff that we talk about? Would they think it's all phooey? So go ahead and think and write about that. Okay, so as you finish up, I'll tell you about what I got out of this when I did it all those years ago, and still noticing. So I was raised Catholic and going to church literally every single day when I was in grade school, but that got a little laxer as my parents got older. Now I love the parts about being raised Catholic, the ones that are still with me, because the Catholic religion believes in miracles. I mean, think about it. They believe that bread and wine are being turned into the body and blood of Christ. And in order to become a saint, there have to be 3 miracles that can be proven. So I love that part, that I believe in miracles. And then also the part of believing that there is, like a plan or an idea about what my life is supposed to be about. And then my spirituality has just been such a huge comfort to me in difficult times, like when my mother died and when my father died and when I got divorced. And so it's been such a huge comfort to me. So let's go ahead and go ahead, and if you'd like to talk about this one, raise your hand if you had a big aha about this. So Samelia, what an interesting name. Samelia, I'm bringing you on. Are you here? Go ahead and yes, and take yourself off mute so we can hear you. And I want to hear about your aha. Hi. Can you do your video so we can see you?
Okay, let me move from where I am right now.
So go ahead and tell us what your aha was.
Well, my aha moment was that how much I value my parents giving me a foundation and believing in God and believing in something higher than myself, because I've been through so many things that if I didn't believe that there was a higher being than myself, like God, who watches over me, I don't think I would be here. Because in life, we can sometimes disappoint ourselves as well as other people disappointing us. So if we don't believe that there is a God who is merciful, who gives us a second chance so that we can give ourselves a second chance, I don't know how anybody could function in our world without that. So for me, I'm very grateful that my parents gave me that option and let me know that that option existed so that when I needed it, I could use it.
Absolutely. Thank you. You're like me. Oh, how funny. Yeah. God bless.
Ow.
God bless you. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you so much for sharing that. You and I have the same thing in common with that. Now, if there are those of you who have found that part of what happened for you growing up was that spirituality was used in a way that made difficulty for you, where maybe there were beliefs that were shoved down your throat, or you got angry at God, or your parents were angry at God, or something like that. Again, bring this into your awareness. And with all of this, make sure that there aren't decisions that you're making on the basis of that. Make sure that conscious decisions that you're making are that they are conscious. And if there is something that you think holding you back, what is something that you can do to stop doing it or start doing it right now that can shift that for you? Okay, let's go on to the next one. I know that we're going through these quickly, but this is also something that you can go back to and add to, because things, as you percolate with this, will continue to come into your head. So, how do you feel about work, and how did your parents feel about work? I find that this is a big one. So, how did your parents feel about work? Did they think that, for example, my parents told me all the time, if you just work hard, then you'll be successful. And, that turned out to be true for me, but it's not true in every situation. And I find very often that working harder is not as good as working smarter. So, did they enjoy their work? This is really kind of the biggest one. Did they enjoy their work, or did they feel like they had to do it? How do you feel? Did you follow in their footsteps? Are you following their bliss? Are you following your bliss? Are you doing what you want to do? Or do you dream of doing something else? So go ahead and start writing about that. So as you finish up with what you're writing, I'll talk a little bit about what happened for me with doing this process. So my parents' belief was you have to work really hard and do things you don't like to make money and support yourself. And so when I did this process, I was working really hard at things I didn't like, meaning practicing law, to make money and support myself, just like my parents. And so it also went along with the idea of life, that life is hard. So these things are always so interwoven. So it wasn't until I came to Sedona for the first time and that I got it, that, yeah, maybe I can do something I love rather than something I hate. I mean, what a concept. It's also interesting to me that both of my parents were self-employed. And out of the 6 children, all of us but 2 are self-employed. 4 of us are self-employed and have our own businesses. So that's kind of an interesting thing when you look back on it. So who would like to talk about any aha moments that they had about work? Go ahead and raise your hand. I'd love to have you share. Okay, Mary Lisa, let me go ahead and bring you in and turn on your video. And there you are. And unmute yourself.
Hello. Okay.
Hello.
Want to?
There we go. Hi. So did you have an aha?
I did. I remembered I was looking at this. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, and her avocation was cleaning the house. So I mean, it wasn't like she was sitting on her butt eating bonbons. And my father worked for the government. I lived in Alexandria. He worked in Washington for the Internal Revenue. He was a bureaucrat. And I grew up in the 60s and 70s. And I remember asking him one time, whether he loved his job. And he looked at me like I had just started speaking Swahili and said, "It's my job." Like, it never occurred to him that you would love your job. So I ended up being a nurse, and I loved it. It's the kind of job that you can only do well if you love it. And if you're doing it, you're doing work you love. But my aha is that I really never, people would say, "Oh, you're a nurse, that's wonderful." And I would say, "Well, I get paid to do it." Do you know what I mean? It was never like, "Oh yes, I'm doing my bliss, I'm following my bliss." It was my job. And I was like sort of channeling my father. Yeah, it's my job. They give me a check so that I come and do it. So I'm retired now. And I look back and I think I remember going to a high school reunion and talking to somebody, and she was an artist, which I thought was just incredible. And she said, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a visiting nurse." And she goes, "Oh my gosh, we have somebody who's just doing good in this world." And I'm like looking around like, "Who are you talking about?" But you know what? I did good. I helped a lot of people in my career. I was a nurse for 100 years. That's a lot of people to visit. And so I can own that. And that's part of, I think, going forward is I need to, because I continue to do things to help people, in retirement. And instead of saying, "Yeah, well, I got nothing else, like I'm not getting paid anymore, but well, I've got nothing else to do, I'm retired," I can own that and allow myself to say, "Yeah, I did that because I wanted to do it. And good on me that I wanted to do it." So
Absolutely, absolutely, and completely own that, and own that beautiful energy of loving to do it and loving to help other people, and just totally owning it. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. That was great. And that is the stuff that we're doing. So she knows too what to do to move that energy. All she has to do, see how just coming into this awareness can help it to shift. And so now when she's going out in the world and talking to people, she can really own it. So how about with you and with your aha? What was your aha? And if it is something where you're not doing what you want to do, or you don't know what you want to do, or you're not owning something, or something is holding you back, what is one thing that you can stop doing or start doing right now to shift that? Because look at what happened with Mary Lisa. Even just the knowing of that, having it come into her conscious awareness is enough. And it might be enough for you, because that's what happened to me when I came to Sedona the first time. I was telling myself for over 20 years, I had to keep on doing this work. And finally something shifted, and it was like, whoa, wait, no, I don't have to keep on being an attorney. I've done it for 20 years. I've paid my and maybe there is something else that I can do. And I had no idea what it was, but I knew that in order to feed my soul, I had to start figuring that out, and had to just start the process of thinking that it might be possible for me. So let's go on to the next one. Another hot button, money. Money is a big one. Money's a really big one. So how did your parents do money? How do you do money? Was money an issue in your home when you were growing up? Is money an issue for you now? Were your parents savers? Are you a saver? Did your parents worry about money and were they afraid about it? Are you worried about money? Are you afraid of it? So go ahead and start writing. So as you finish up, keep writing, but as you finish up, I'll tell you that this was one of the most shocking ones when I did this process so many years ago. I grew up with my parents, there was never enough. We had 6 kids, and I have these absolutely vivid memories of my mother sitting at the dining room table, writing bills, writing checks to pay bills and saying there's not enough. And she would do it every month. And I would watch her and it would make my stomach upset. It would make me afraid. But when I did this process, I discovered that, I mean, get a load of this. I was doing the exact same thing. I was sitting at my dining room table, writing checks and saying, there's not enough. There's not enough. I mean, I was doing the exact same thing as my mother was doing, even down to sitting at the dining room table. So one of the things I did was I stopped doing bill paying at the dining room table. It was kind of amazing to shift that. Okay, so did anybody have an aha about money? Go ahead and raise your hand. Oh, now, come on, guys. Okay, here we go. I was going to say, we have very few people raising their hand. Okay, Sean, go ahead and let's make sure that your video's on and your audio's on. There you are. Take off your, yes, unmute yourself so that we can hear you. Yes, there we go. Hi, hi, Sean.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you. Can you do your video?
Wait, let's see. I got it. There we go.
There you go. Hi.
Perfect. Hi.
Perfect there. Hi. So what was your aha?
So I grew up with a corporate dad and a mom that was stay-at-home mom until we were, I don't know, 3rd grade or so, and then she was a part-time teacher. But my whole thing with my dad, and I remember money, corporate money. So there was 401k plans, and there was some sort of retirement saving plan that people kind of helped carry you out. And I just remember when I started working, my first thought is I have to be corporate like my dad. And it was right at a time where corporate wasn't exactly, at least where I was living, not exactly flourishing. And I had to learn a self-employment kind of world. But always in the back of my head, the security of the corporate world, I don't have it. And most people don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what most people have or not. But that was a big thing for me right now to just play out in my own head that I still put a lot of pressure on myself that it's never going to be enough, no matter what I'm doing and is how hard I'm working, to have the stability that he had during his time period. So that's what came up for me, and as well as not knowing how to spend money. because he was such a saver and knew exactly what he was putting aside every paycheck, because he knew exactly what he was getting and what life cost and I never learned how to spend money because it was always allocated. So I never had fun spending money, and I'm trying to learn how to let myself go in those things too.
So on the first part, can you see how just being different than your dad made you so uncomfortable?
Yes.
And there's
And I
no,
always wanted to do what he was doing, but it also wasn't what I really wanted. So I mean, yeah, I
but
get
the
it.
cool part is you were able to do what you wanted to do. You felt some, you felt some uncomfortableness about it, but you did it.
Yes, I
So
did.
that's very cool. So you can feel, just knowing this now, can you feel a little more comfortable in the choices that you've made, and in knowing that even though it's different than how your dad did it, it's still okay?
It's still okay. Yes, I've come
Yeah.
around to that. So thank you.
Right. So then on the second one, okay, now this is an easy one for what you can do about spending. I think you need to buy something extravagant.
Well, you know what I did is I signed up for your program, and I'm coming in 10 days. So that was my spend the money. It's all okay. Yeah.
Oh, honey, great. I love it. Okay, good. Well, then this can give you even more permission to do that, because see, the truth is, when we're spending money in a way that feeds us, whether it's feeding us, physically or emotionally or spiritually, when it's feeding us, then, oh my gosh, there's returns on that. That's not just spending, that's an investment. So I love that. I didn't realize that. Great. I'll meet you in 10 days when you're here. That's terrific.
And I'm excited for the return as well. So thank you.
Right.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'll see you in a little bit, Sean.
I'll see you in a while. Yeah, thanks.
See, I love that, because that's exactly what is going on with what we're talking about here, that just the awareness can turn things around. And I'm so happy that she was able to give herself permission. So how about you? What did you get out of this money thing? This is a huge trigger for most of us. I'll tell you, when I was working, I did a lot of work as a coach for many years. I don't do that now, but I did it for many, many years. And I coached a lot of people around money. And what I found was that even people with a lot of money thought they didn't have it. So what is something that you can do right now, something on the money issue, that will really start to shift things? It could be something small. It could be something big. Okay, we're on to our last two. The next one, relationships. Now, again, this is a big one. And it was interesting to me that when we were talking earlier, that somebody was talking about how the idea about life affected their relationships, because that is how that's how things go. So this is a big one. How was your parents' relationship? Did you feel like they loved each other? Could you feel it? Were they together? Were they not together? I mean, just that will have an impact. How did they treat each other? How is that showing up for you? How are your own relationships mirroring your parents? And again, I'm talking primarily here about love relationships. So go ahead and start writing. So as you finish up writing, I'll tell you about what I discovered about myself when I did this process. So my parents had a very complicated relationship. I know they loved each other, but they really didn't do very much to show it. They were not demonstrative with each other at all. And my father worked nights. He owned bars and nightclubs, and he was basically gone every night, except for Sunday. And when I was 13, my father's alcoholism really kicked in, and he started having an affair with another woman. He almost lost his business, and my mother started working. And we were in really financial trouble until my mother started working. And so at this very impressionable age, I saw my mother come in and save our family. And I know now that I had this setup of let's find men who are emotionally unavailable and that I will have to take care of. I mean, wow, what a great idea. And that's what I did. Oh gosh, I put my first husband through law school. I got married when I was 19. And what was interesting is the minute he got out of law school and got a really, really great job, and we bought a house and the whole thing, and I left. And I know looking back now that it was all about, it was just too unfamiliar to have someone take care of me. And the whole thing of, not wanting to be dependent and all of that, it took me a long time to stop this pattern. And I wasn't able to do it until I came to Sedona. And now finally, I think a lot of you know I got married 3 years ago, and I have finally stopped the pattern. So how about you? Did you have an aha? Go ahead and raise your hand if you would like to, if you had an aha about relationships. Oh, I think I might have hit the button. Okay, Brenda, here we go, Brenda. So go ahead and unmute yourself, and there you are. Take yourself off mute so we can hear you. Hi, we're not seeing you yet. Can you, there you go. Hi, Brenda.
Hi.
Hi. So tell us your aha.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about relationships and patterns and old beliefs and trying to get rid of them. But my family, my dad died when I was 7. So I saw my mom cry, and I remember my dad's funeral. I think someone at the funeral said, "Take care of your mother." And, that's just something that you say, but I realized that stuck with me. And from 7 years on, I thought I was responsible for taking care of my mother. And then I took care of my brother and sister too. And my sister acknowledges that when she was little, she got hurt at school and she started crying for me, not my mother. So I took on a lot of responsibility, and the relationship with my father dying and seeing what my mother went through, I think I decided very young to be very independent. I saw that in the relationships with my aunts and uncles and my grandmother and grandfather. Strong men they married, but they were kind of doting too. And I ended up marrying the same kind of person, someone that let me be who I wanted to be, and just accepted that. So I don't know what else to say. I've just
How do you feel?
Words.
How do you feel about your choices?
I think I could have enjoyed life a little bit more instead of worrying so much about how things were going to come out or what I needed to do to make other people happy. or to take care of them. I've
Are you
been
still
kind
in
of-
your relationship?
Yes.
You're still
With
in
my
your
husband?
marriage? Yes.
Yes. Yes,
Good.
we've been married 48 years.
So then I think you two found what worked for you.
Yes, we did. We
Absolutely.
did.
Fantastic. So that is wonderful. And I congratulate, as a divorce attorney for 20 years, I congratulate you on your 40-year marriage. That is fantastic. And I love it. And so that shows that even though, you know, you did this taking care of, it was something that ended up being okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Fantastic. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I love that. So think about it for you in your relationship. Are you doing things that are conscious? Are you doing things that are unconscious? Is there something that is not making you happy about it that you can do something about it, stop doing something, or start doing something that can shift that? So let's go into our last one, which is your body. And with that, I'm talking about everything having to do with your body, your general health. It encompasses a lot. Your weight, your body image, body type, exercise, diet, whether you like regular medicine, traditional medicine, untraditional medicine. And then for a lot of women, a lot of what happened with their mother is very much involved in this. So think about how your parents were with all of that. And then think about how you are. And kind of my biggest question is, did your parents love their bodies? Did they take care of themselves? Do you love your body? Do you take care of yourself? So what are the similarities? Are there things that have held you back? Are there things that have created problems for you? Go ahead and start writing. So as you're finishing up, I'll talk to you about what I figured out when I did this process and what a huge impact this had on my life. So my mother, as I grew up, was constantly dieting. And when my father became older, he became very obese. And after my mother died, which was in 1978, my father married a woman who was very overweight, and they were always dieting and losing 30 or 40 pounds and then going off the diet and gaining it all back again and more. And I realized I had been put on my first diet when I was 12. I was a dancer when I was growing up. So I was put on my first diet when I was 12, even though I wasn't heavy. And I, throughout my life, was continually struggling with this. And I was continually, just like my parents, losing 20 pounds, then going off the diet and gaining it all back again. And it wasn't until I came to Sedona and finally started loving my body that I had a transformation. And if you read my book, you know that literally what happened is that I dropped 40 pounds in 5 weeks without diet or exercise. So you can see that's how I looked on the left when I was first coming to Sedona. In fact, that picture was taken at Ranjita's house, who's going to be our speaker next week. And that's me now. And after struggling my entire life, it wasn't until I came into loving my body that everything shifted for me. So how about you? Who would like to raise their hand if you had an aha about your body? And let's see, Ruthie, I think I got you on the right one. Ruthie, so go ahead and let's see, Ruthie, are you coming on? There she is. Hi, Ruthie. So go ahead and unmute yourself and hopefully we can do the video so we can see you. Ruthie, are you there? Can you unmute yourself, Ruthie? Do you see where it says you see the little microphone and you can take that off? I think she's coming. Nope, not sure what's happening. Okay, Ruthie, I'm sorry we tried. Is there anybody else? Let's go ahead and raise. Yes. Oh.
I'm unmuted.
Oh, you're unmuted. Okay, Ruthie, go ahead. Go ahead. Did you have an aha about your body?
Oh my gosh, yes, and I so want to share it.
Oh, good. Yay.
I don't know if you can see me. I'm in Mexico, but I'm listening. And
okay, I can't see you, but it's okay. It's okay. Go ahead, sweetie.
And this whole session has been absolutely marvelous, and I want to thank you very much. And I'm trying to start the little video to see if I can fully participate because I would like to. But
it's okay. We can hear you. We can hear you, and there's a lot of emotion coming through your voice, so that's great. Go ahead.
Yes, there is. Speaking of body image, wow. I was molested from a stepfather from 10 to 13, and wow, talk about what an impact on body image. I was married and had a child and thought I was in an absolutely wonderful place with my own body. And it took me like 30 years to realize that I truly wasn't. It wasn't about the image of being heavy or being slender or being beautiful, but just loving yourself after the betrayal that one experiences in your body is so huge. And my mother was tiny. I'm the tallest woman in my family. And I had to find to love myself in so many ways because I felt so different from what had happened to me that I could never share because I thought my mother would be killed if I shared this. And this has, I always pushed everything aside thinking I'm normal, I'm a professional, I have great things happening in my life, except for I not ever had a real close relationship. Yes, I was married for 10 years, but always at a distance because of the shame that I felt inside my body that I wasn't even acknowledging because I just wanted to forget about it all. I didn't go to counseling because I thought I was strong, but it's taken me the last, and I'm now 60, probably 20 years of meditating and working on myself to really, truly love my body inside and out and to appreciate that everything works.
Yes.
And it's not about, it wasn't anything my mother did, of course, but I couldn't share it with her because I thought he would kill her. So when we speak of body images, it doesn't just come from the media or from our parents. It could be from somebody who has harmed us.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd like to share that with all the women out there, I don't care what size you are, sometimes people eat to cover the pain or drink to cover the pain without sharing it. And I just want to say that the first thing that comes with body image is loving yourself, no matter
Absolutely.
what's happened in the past. And so thank you for letting me share that. There has been a lot of emotions in this last hour, and I thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. And you're absolutely right. The body images, even, you know, the weight, everything. It
I mean,
all
my
comes-
mom was
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see. I don't think I can get her back. I'm so sorry, Ruthie, but you're absolutely right that this all comes back to how do you feel about yourself and do you love yourself? And so with all of these issues, and especially with your body, what are things that you can be doing to stop that or shift it so that you can come into this space of love and acceptance, especially loving yourself? And as Ruthie said, she struggled with this for many years. She was mentioning using meditation and other things. And these are the things that we have to be doing. So the first thing is to bring it into our conscious awareness to understand, oh my gosh, you know, this happened to me as a child, or this is how I was raised, or this is how I was treated, and this is how it's affecting me today. So what can I do to move that and shift that? It's the most important work that we can be doing. And it's so interesting to me that what Ruthie was talking about was loving yourself, because our masterclass next week is how to fall in love with yourself with Inika Ranjita Ryan. And Inika is the person that when I came to Sedona 21 years ago, I came here for what I thought was going to be 3 days of just being quiet. That's all I intended. And instead, I did one session with her. And in that session, I got the message that I had to change my life. And all of this, my life, Sedona Soul Adventures, all of this has come from the one session that I did with Ranjita. So I hope that you'll all be with me next week for that session, because I know a number of you are grads who have experienced her work. If you haven't experienced her work, she's absolutely incredible. But all of this comes down to everything that we did today is all about what are the things in your life that are helping you? What are the things in your life that are holding you back? Looking at those and figuring out ways to move and shift. And what I want you to do over this next week is to just be thinking about that. When something comes up for you and you're thinking about, I don't like this, or this isn't the way that I want it to be, whatever it is, start thinking about, whoa, wait a minute, is this me? Or is this coming from my past? Maybe not necessarily from your parents, maybe from some other thing, but is this really mine? Is this really my issue? Is this really something that has to do with me? Or is this something that is actually still something that's haunting me, either from your childhood or from some other time in your life? Because so much of the time, what's going on for us is stuff that is just old stuff that we have not healed. So I hope that this has been of benefit to you. Oh, some people asked, what's the name of my book? It's called The Journey to Happy, and you can get it on Amazon. And I would love for you to have it. This exercise is in the book, along with 8 other processes that are really, really, really of benefit. So thank you so much for being here. Again, come next week because it's going to be amazing with Ranjita. And then remember on Tuesday, please help us on Tuesday to launch our podcast of Meeting the Masters. I love you all so much, and I will see you next week.